What's up, everybody? Just got back from seeing the new horror film Strange Darling, so let's talk about it. I'm just gonna cut right to the chase. This is one of, if not my favorite movie of the year. I just had such this was such a unexpected experience that I had at the movies, and there has not been a movie this year so far that has surprised me in how much I enjoyed it than this film. And one of the reasons for that is that this movie's narrative isn't really groundbreaking or anything that we haven't seen before, but the way that it is told was very unique and made for the plot to be very, very interesting and some of the reveals to be very, very interesting. Essentially, it's told in a non linear fashion. Without going into spoilers, essentially, there are 6 chapters in this film, that they go through, and it's not told in order, right? It's not shown to you in order. They tell you which chapter you're at each time, and it keeps jumping back and forth. And what that does, and what made that so great about this film, is that essentially it kind of throws you right in the middle of the story, you know, right at the beginning of the movie. And it makes you think, hey, this story is playing out one way. There are, certain things that are happening that you're thinking are in this way. And then later on, once we get through those chapters and we kind of start to find out what's really going on, you learn that everything that you thought at the beginning of the film is no longer the case or never was the case in the first place. So, with it being told this way, it just allows for the story to be as impactful as it possibly can. Like I said, nothing about the actual plot of this film is really all that unique, but it's the way that it's told to you as an audience member that makes it unique and makes you so interested in, so hooked into the story throughout the entire runtime of this film. And I absolutely cannot emphasize this enough. Go into this movie blind. Don't know anything about this film before you go see it. It will absolutely make for the most rewarding experience that you can possibly have with this film. I wasn't even planning on seeing this movie earlier today. I was recommended it by a couple people that I trust, their opinion on films, and it was a limited release. And luckily, one of my theaters locally had added it, to the schedule. So I decided on a limb to go see this movie, and I really didn't know anything about it besides the basic premise that's in the trailers and in the previews. And to me, I think that's what made my experience with this film so rewarding and made this film that much better when I got to finally sit down and watch it. So, like I said before, this plot is not the most, unique or new plot that we've ever seen before. But it's a very simple cat and mouse thriller, and with the way that it's told, it allows the pacing to be perfect. There's not a moment that you're bored in this film. There's not a moment where you're wondering, when is this going to be over? It literally had me glued to the screen the entire time, and I felt like the out of linear narrative is what allowed that to happen, because I feel like if we would have saw the events in the order that they transpired in the story, it just wouldn't have been as rewarding. It wouldn't have been as impactful, and it would have made the cat and mouse aspect of this not as intense and intriguing and as great as it was. So it really took swings with the narrative and the way it was told, and to me, it just absolutely killed it. It knocked it out of the park, and yeah, like I said, one of the most unique movies that I've seen in quite some time, and it's because of the way that the narrative is told. One thing also that was fantastic about this film that I wasn't really expecting was the visuals and the cinematography of this film. It just looked gorgeous, for being a lower budget film. It, it, it looked incredible. A lot of big budget blockbuster films look like crap, and then I see a smaller movie, a smaller budgeted movie like this that just looks so great. I just wonder, what are they doing? Um, yeah, visuals absolutely fantastic in this film. Then to kind of piggyback off that, the score of this film, um, was great. It was fantastic. I mean, the musical cue moments that they have in the film fit perfectly with what's going on in the scene, and just the regular score itself, I, I was blown away at some of the moments how effective the score was to add to the intensity of the scenes in this film. Yeah, bravo on the score for this film. And the next part that I really, really liked was some of the social commentary that this film had. Um, I really can't get into details without spoiling it. I know I keep saying that, but with this film, it's very evident. Some of the things that they talk about in this film, in regards to gender, right, and what our assumptions as humans are when it comes to gender. I just love that conversation, and I loved how it played out in the film. That's about like I said, that's the deepest I can probably go, without getting into spoiler territory. But that aspect of the film, I thought, was handled absolutely perfectly. So, with all that being said, clearly I'm very high on this movie. Like I said, it is one of my favorite films of the year. But I am going to talk about a couple of things that are a little bit mixed for me. Depending on what your threshold is on seeing any type of essay, right, in film, might affect what you think of this film. There is only really one scene where that is prevalent, but for some it might be too much. Wasn't for me, right? But does get a little uncomfortable at one point, and that might turn some people off to the film. And then another thing that I think, I think I might be mixed on. I won't really know unless I rewatch the film, but I'm not sure with how the nature of the story playing out in the nonlinear form. I'm not sure how much I'll really enjoy this film on a rewatch, right? With knowing some of the reveals, knowing where the story goes, and in the structure that the narrative is in. I won't know really until a rewatch, but a part of me feels like it might not hit as well as it did on my first viewing, on a repeat viewing. I plan on watching it as soon as I can again. I don't know if it'll be in the theater or at home, but the first chance I get, I'm going to watch it again. So I'm very interested to see, how it's going to hit essentially when I watch it for that second time. But all in all, guys, I mean, a very, very positive experience for me. Um, just because I just got out of the theater, I don't know if I'm going to call this my favorite movie of the year, but it is. I'd be very surprised if by the end of the year this is not in my top three of my favorite movies of the year. Like I said, a big surprise for me. Did not see this coming. Was not expecting to love this movie as much as I did. And if you're one of those people out here who say that Hollywood doesn't make any original movies, well, they sure do. This is one of them, so please go see this movie. This movie deserves to make money. It deserves to be seen. And I hope Hollywood continues to make movies like this and people go see them. As a horror fan, getting this and Alien Romulus in back to back weeks was a blessing. So, yeah, on a scale, I'm going to rate this a 4.5 out of 5. Almost perfect film for me, and I very much enjoyed it. Well, if you guys have seen Strange Darling, go ahead and comment below. Let me know what you thought about it. Have a great night.